Hey guys and gals, Never here from Drake Wayne Gaming, and something mounts word of the Gaming Drag. Today I'm coming back at you with the Let's Play episode of Temptation's Ballad. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump right back in, shall we? Alarm saying you were up, and let's go! Now, lad, let's take a moment. I don't want your empty words. I want you to leave! The words left Cassius's mouth before he could think. The Knight Commander's body suddenly went rigid. Sir Grank's mouth snapped shut as every muscle tightened against his will. The large bear twitched quietly for a moment. As you wish. No, wait, I didn't mean to! The Knight Commander was already marching out the door, his every movement was stiff and wooden, as though he was being tugged along by invisible strings. Halt! The commander stilled. Cassius opened his beak and shut it, unsure of what to say. He stared helplessly into the cold back of the Knight Commander's armor. I think I would like a cup of tea, thank you. As you command. No, that's not what I meant! Cassius scrambled across the room and grabbed the knight's wrist before he could march out the door. Sir Grank turned to face him. All the warmth from before was gone, his expression now hard and rigid as stone. I'm sorry. I am a loyal protector. Cassius's shoulders fell and he tore his eyes away from the commander's unreadable gaze. His grip around the knight's wrist tightened as he hung his head low. Do you hate me? I am your loyal protector. I know, but do you... Beneath all that, if I asked you to speak plainly, what do you truly think? Cassius clamped his beak shut, shame washing through him. He let go of Sir Grank's wrist and stepped away from the door quietly. I'm sorry. The privacy of your own thoughts. I should not take what little you have left. The peacock hung his head low, his grip around the knight's grip trembling for a moment before he let go. I think you should go. The Knight Commander bowed. I am your loyal protector. Call when you have need of me. The words sank into him like a knife. Cassius would have preferred if Sir Grank had just shouted at him or perhaps struck him. There was a faint clank as the door of the bedroom shut behind him, and Cassius was alone once more. He finally lifted his head. The cold palace walls stared back accusingly. Cassius stumbled across the room and picked up the obsidian crown, placing it on his head once more in a futile effort. He closed his eyes and imagined drifting off in a blissful, dreamless sleep. But sleep did not come. Cassius opened his eyes and could only stand, lost and alone in his guilt. Well, we have now met Prince Cassius. I'm sure someone is going to be plowing into him in the near future. Alright. In more ways than one. Sparrow's Roost Inn. Maeve was pleasantly surprised when she finally caught sight of the humble front yard of the shabby little inn. When the creators chosen sent her a letter last night notifying her of the meeting place, she had expected something a little more ornate. Or at the very least an imposing church. Perhaps she shouldn't be surprised at all. It's like, water time. Well, I say water, but I'm drinking a very special slushie right now, so... From their short conversations yesterday, the Chosen One didn't strike her as someone particularly concerned with her appearance. Maeve allowed herself a small smile as she stepped across the cobblestone trail of the inn's entrance. She missed this. After years of tiptoeing her way through diplomatic meetings with the nobility, she had forgotten how relaxing it was to walk amongst regular people. It would be nice to finally have a meal without the participants letting out horrified gasps when she accidentally used the wrong soup spoon, or turned their noses up whenever she had dared to speak. Still, she mustn't lower her guard. The creator chosen seemed like the straightforward sort, but looks could be deceiving. Ribbit! There was an extraordinarily round toad sitting on the front steps of the inn. Its wide, empty eyes stared back at her as it nibbled quietly in a small pile of cubed cheese. That can't be good diet for you, little one. Although, the toad appeared quite healthy for its age, just very round. Maeve flicked her wrist, a flash of druid claps fluttering through the air. Several houseflies from the yard buzzed into the air and hovered over the toad's head curiously. The round toad stared at them blankly for several minutes before darting out its tongue at the tasty morsels. It missed, and it missed again. After a few more half-hearted attempts, the toad gave up and returned to nibbling on its little cheese pile. Well, as long as it's happy, Maeve supposed, as she stepped over it and quietly pushed through the inn's front doors. A wave of warm chatter and appetizing scents hit Maeve like a wall. She stood in the doorway, dazed. It took a second before she realized someone was talking to her. Hmm? Greetings, Lady Osmia. I'm so glad that you answered my summons. We're very grateful to have your help with negotiations today. It is I who should be thanking you. I see they actually have altered Artemis' sprites a bit. Looks like she has more definition. Interesting. I was the one who requested your aid in arranging a meeting with the royal prince. After all, Maeve could scarcely squeeze out a sentence before she found herself surrounded by a crowd of peppery and delighted smiles. Oh, hello, dearie. Welcome to my humble little inn. I know it isn't as fancy as some of your big noble soirees, but I hope it's up to your tastes. Come, take a seat and dig in while the food is still hot. I've tried to dig up some druid snack recipes. I'm not sure how authentic these honeyed roasted lupin beans are, but they're quite scrumptious at the very least. Whatever Maeve had braced for in lieu of this meeting, it was not this. She allowed herself to be ushered into a warm and cushy seat while the smell of fresh, hot meal filled her senses. Her face softened, and with nostalgia, she spied the comically large plate of roasted lupine beans. Nice little boy. One of our kitties being loud. Mother used to make these frequently when she was still a child. This is very kind of you, Mrs. Nope, you can just call me Ilya. We're a very casual bunch around here. Of course, you already know our good knight Artemy. And this is my son Sid, and my husband Rene is behind the counter over there. Howdy! Hi, it's great to have you with us, ma'am. Maeve bowed politely. Charmed. I am Maeve Osmia, head of House Osmia. Though, as you say, we can dispense with the formalities, Maeve is fine. She smiled and nodded towards the tall badger. I saw your performance at the tournament brawl yesterday. Your combat prowess was quite the spectacle. Oh, thank you! The badger beamed and smiled brightly to himself. Wow, this is what it feels like speaking with a real lady. I beg your pardon? No, that's not what I meant. You know. Sid spluttered and scratched his head sheepishly. Sorry, I didn't mean it like that. I just got that fancy air of elegance, you know. I'm not sure you're helping your case, Sir Sid. Okay, in my defense, obliterating an underground fighting ring and biting Marrow Breaker is kinda unladylike. Artemis' shoulders slumped in defeat. I suppose you're right. Nobody ever calls me Lady Gautier. Well, I could start doing that if you want. The knight let out a good-natured laugh. No, I cannot ask that from a friend. I prefer our casual camaraderie anyhow. Maeve's lips quirked into a small smile as she caught them exchanging a small high-five underneath the table. This was certainly a different crowd from the usual pompous and backstabbing nobles she usually contended with. Artemis Gautier was a rather straightforward individual. A bit idealistic, but was easy enough to nudge in whatever direction Maeve may require. And this Sid responded eagerly to flattery and appeared to be somewhat simple-minded. She could see how these two were so easily strung along by this Collidai bone-breaker at the helm of their merry band. They were a powerful bunch, but should this Collidai prove himself a threat, their loyalties could be dismantled with relative ease. Maeve hoped things did not come to that, but she had doubts on the moral standings of one who dealt with demons, allegedly. She was startled out of her thoughts as the innkeeper brought several more plates of assorted snacks and breakfast foods to their table. Come, eat up. Can you believe it? The creator's chosen herself staying at our little inn. And now we have the leader of a fancy noble house here, too. Oh, I never could have imagined it when we started this place. You run a fine establishment, Lady Ilya. Maeve cursed silently under her breath as her words caught in her throat. She was not used to being fussed over like this. Thankfully, no one seemed to notice her little stumble. Say, I've been meaning to ask. You're the one organizing the Firefly Festival this year, right? Will you be attending the festivities today as well? Ah, the second day of the Firefly Festival, where Cassius celebrated the past by paying respect to fallen loved ones. Okay. A slightly more somber day compared to the rest, but as important as any other. Today's celebrations are of a more delicate nature. I've left the organization efforts to people more familiar with the inner city's traditions. I see. Will you still attend the lantern lighting ceremony when nightfall comes? I'll be sending one out for my dear sister. The innkeeper's eyes softened. If you're participating, would you like to come with me? It can be a rather intimidating event if done alone for your first time. Honestly, folks think the lantern lighting ceremony is such a grim endeavor, but it's actually quite fun and relaxing time if you do it with friends. Maeve stilled. She shook her head politely. Druids have different customs for honoring the dead, but thank you for your kindness. And in my case, there would be too many lanterns to count, she thought bitterly. Ilya smiled gently, as though she knew what Maeve was thinking. Don't be a stranger, dearie. The city can be a lonely place at times. Our doors are always open to you if you need it. Oh dear, look at the time. Don't let this old bird keep you. Go on and do whatever you young'uns have planned for today and have fun. The innkeeper retreated to the kitchen with a jovial chirp. Maeve cleared her throat and turned towards the two adventurers. Right, of course. If I may direct our attention to the task at hand. She turned towards Artemy and Sid curiously. You mentioned in your letter that you intended to request an audience with Prince Cassius to question him on his involvement with these missing rubies, correct? Indeed, and we have received some tips on where to take our investigation should our meeting fail to bear fruit. The former royal researcher Agatha Stoker directed us to look into the 14th research facility, where King Roderick allegedly conducted many secretive experiments. The facility is closed down now, but there is no harm in seeing if any useful information remains. The prince seemed like a little nervous little guy. Boss says he's hoping to get to spill him the beans with a little bit of pressure. Boss? Oh, you mean Kaladai Bonebreaker. Speaking of which, where is the man? Should we be discussing these plans without him? Artemy and Sid exchanged deadpan stares before pointing behind her. Maeve turned around to see a very distinctive hyena-shaped hole in the wooden wall of the inn. The hole looked rather rough and splintered, as though someone crashed into it at high speed. So after Boss got into that tussle with the demon yesterday, he asked my mom to teach him some more useful spells. They decided to go with Misty Step. He's still getting the hang of it. I still believe that teaching Cole to teleport was a terrible idea. Miss Shrikewood has made a grave mistake. I mean, it's pretty useful if you ever needed to get out of trouble again. Anyway, Boss said he needed to go home real quick to talk with his folks, so he kind of poofed out of existence and reappeared inside a wall. I'm pretty sure he destroyed his shins. He insisted that he was alright, and then he disappeared in a puff of smoke again. He should be okay. We heard his subsequent screams vaguely in direction of the Marauders district, so at the very least he's headed in the right direction. I see. Oh god. The kitchen door suddenly swung open and a furious Calder O'Shaughnessy scampered out armed with a waiter's tray and jug of hot tea, his tattered apron flapping in the breeze. There was a loud thump as the noble furiously slammed a plate of onion rings and garlic bread onto the table. The sheer hypocrisy of that little miscreant. He spent so much time yesterday denying his status as a mage, and now he's just teleporting about and learning new spells on a whim. Hey, Boss is actually planning to break the news to his dad today. This is a great step forward for him. I'm doubtful of Cole's ability to follow up on his plan, but I am proud of his slow progress. I pray he and Sir Mara manage to sort out their differences. I cannot fathom why that fraud holds that one-eyed bone-breaker brute in such high regards. Actually, y'all, it's time for me to wrap it up right there. I'm going to go ahead and pause it. Thank y'all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and check out our Patreon if you can. It always helps. Anyway, I love you all, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye!